Morning everybody, happy Friday. The weekend is almost here. First things first, I'm dying for a cup of coffee. I need like 5 more of those like really good sips. So today we're going to be talking about juggling language habits and your language studies. Now this might mean multiple different languages, so you may have daily or weekly habits that you need to engage with in several languages, but it also might just mean that maybe you're learning one foreign language and you have a daily reading habit you're trying to keep up, but you also have a conversation partner, or maybe you have a textbook you're doing, and so you can have these different habits that are sort of competing for your time. But of course, it could also be just juggling a single language habit in with other things in your life, right? Of course, you have your job perhaps, or maybe you're a student and you have classes or whatever it might be. You may just have other interests, like I'm studying data science and I also have YouTube, which is extremely demanding. I have a full-time job and I'm building Journaly. It's all insane. So these are all the different ways that you may be juggling your language habit or habits in with other things. And it's hard. It's bloody hard. And I'm struggling right now. And I've been having a really hard time succeeding at that with my German studies over the last 2 weeks. So that's what we're talking about today. It's going to be a very open, honest video as always. And right before we go to the intro, I'm so bad at this. If you like this video and if you love what I'm doing, please do subscribe, like the video. I would love that. All right, into the video. Okay, so just in case you are new here, I have been documenting a whole bunch of different things on my channel for quite some time now. A more long-standing series is this one where I'm learning Mandarin Chinese while being an incredibly, absurdly, I would say unsustainably busy person. And that's been really interesting. But I've also recently been documenting my journey to bring my German skills back up to scratch. So, I've spoken German pretty well at a number of different times. It's also one of the languages that's not incredibly strong. It's never gotten to that really, really high advanced level where it atrophies very slowly. And so my German tends to go up and down a bit like a yo-yo. And every time it goes higher, but then it comes back down again, a little higher. And so I've been documenting myself getting back to German and ideally, taking it further than ever before. Finally, hopefully, into those really advanced stages where it'll become easier to maintain that language. Now, as I alluded to in the introduction of this video, I've been really, really struggling with that in particular these last couple of weeks. And so, again, as I always do, it's important to share that with you because that is as important of a part of this particular journey into my German language skills as all the good parts. And I think that while it is extremely frustrating in the moment, right? It can be very frustrating when you're like, I just wish I had time to do this thing that I love, right? Or I just wish I had more hours in the day or whatever it is. But I think at a macro level, at a high level, when you step back and especially afterwards, right? Once you've kind of reached the top of the mountain and you look back down, you seriously appreciate all those struggles, right? I mean, just imagine climbing a mountain if it was just like super easy. I mean, let's compare the example. Imagine if you took an elevator, right? You could just walk through a door in a mountain and take a lift all the way to the top. It's true, the view is probably great. But when you look back and you look down the mountain, are you really gonna, maybe you'll appreciate it, but imagine the difference if you climbed that mountain yourself and fell down a few times, ideally not down the mountain, but maybe you fell onto the ground. Imagine all the different things that you could struggle with, that could go wrong. It's incomparable, right, when you look back. And so I think that's important. This struggle I'm having right now, where I've done barely any German over the last couple of weeks, that's an important part of that, and it's a beautiful thing. And so I think that when people only share the good parts, I always talk about this, right? It's just, I think it actually devalues that entire part of this journey, which is not only normal, it's beautiful. But what it does is it makes people feel like something's wrong with them. It makes them feel like they are incapable or insufficient or inadequate, you know, and so that's why I think this is so important. Now, the funny thing is that my Mandarin Chinese studies have been going incredibly well. So you may have seen, I posted a really fun update on my Chinese speaking skills about sort of, you know, small wins and huge gains. Then I posted my very first full Mandarin Chinese conversation with my friend Jake Gill. And then I just this week started a new series documenting my journey to reading books in Mandarin Chinese fluently. And so I've been reading this book called Emma, or An Mo is the Chinese title. And it's been absolutely splendid. I would recommend going and checking out those videos if you haven't seen them this week. And I have actually really done a great job, I think, of starting to cement that habit, right? So I've actually read about one chapter every single day of this story. It's amazing. I love it. I've been taking notes here and there. I've already created a study deck with the different words that are new to me, or it's going so well. And this is the first point that is often the case when you're studying multiple languages, or if you're just doing multiple different things in one language. It's that very often the reason why we struggle is because we're doing really well in something else, right? So in this case, my Mandarin studies are going extremely well, even despite how busy I am, even despite my daily struggles to get everything done. I'm really proud of how I've been able to just keep up my Mandarin Chinese, and it's going so well. But again, that's what often happens, is that, well, that thing's going really well, and so my German has fallen through the cracks. And it's important to say, like, I don't consider this a failure whatsoever. It's only a failure if you give up, right? You've only failed once you say, well, screw it. To me, this is totally normal. And I think that's what's so crucial about sharing this moment on that journey. It's that this is normal. Because again, I think that lots of people, they experience this, but then they see all these people online, you know, polyglots or whatever, just like, again, only recording their very best bits. I mean, I can tell you, it would be so easy for me to just make videos speaking all my languages, and I'm telling you, I could make it look natural, I could make it appear like it's spontaneous. Like, that would be the easy road, I think. And probably I would have 10 times more subscribers or 100 times more subscribers, but I just don't believe in that. Because again, then if some of you experience this exact like struggle, you might think, well, this is not normal, right? I failed. So that's why I want to share today that happens to all of us if we're really being honest, right? And especially if we're people who do lots of things, even if you just have a day job and maybe you're studying something else and you have a family, and of course there's a police car outside the window. Okay, I think it's stopped. So yeah, the important thing is, cool, how do we move on? How do we get back on the boat, as I often say? Well, I've been thinking about this. So for me with German and all language studies, the easiest option for me is to just do it first thing in the morning or last thing before bed, because I get up very early. So I always have time in the morning, no matter what. And so the easiest thing is to just say, okay, I have this thing, it's important to me. It doesn't matter when I get up, no matter when I sit down, like that's the first thing I'm gonna do, and I always get that thing done. Thing is though, that's like my most competitive habit spot, right? So many things are competing for that. For about 9 months, that was data science, and I've been doing data science every single morning. Recently, data science shifted to before bed, which I'm not really happy with. I prefer to do it in the morning as well, but it's just been too insane. Every day's been crazy. And so right now, it's my Mandarin reading that I'm doing every morning when I wake up with my coffee and some breakfast. And I've also been reading this book at lunchtime as well. And I'm really happy with that habit. And so again, my next spot would be like before bed. The trouble is that what's really nice is if I can spend that time consolidating the things that I learned in the book. And so we have this conflict, right? And then I have other times during the day, like I do walk at least twice a day. So I walk outside at least twice a day, usually 3 times, it depends. And normally that's study time for me. Walking is incredible dead time. And so very often I'll listen to a podcast, or I will do like flashcards with my Chinese words. I don't recommend that to everybody, to do like flashcards while walking. I've been doing this for like 10 years. I'm always gonna be careful. I'm extremely slow, and I'm really careful when I do it. Just a little caveat. But if I'm being honest with you, I love studying while taking walks. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, where can I fit German in? Because it needs to be ideally a daily habit, or at least like every other day. It needs to be something I do almost every day. And so with that, I realized, well, you know, I do love Babbel. I'm doing Babbel right now, as many of you will know if you saw my first few videos in that series. So Babbel is actually something I've done for years and years and years while walking. So that was one idea I had. It's like, well, I could do Babbel German when I go on my walks, and that's like a rule. And then I'm guaranteed to do it every day, even if just 10-15 minutes. So that's one idea. And especially because I walk like 2 or 3 times a day. And so even if I just do Babbel German in one of those walks, I'm already covered. So that's one idea, right? And that's what's helpful about just taking a step back sometimes. And occasionally you realize, oh, I got this huge spot, like every day, bang, I just put it right there. So that's already great. I was also thinking though that maybe I could use some ideas from my very popular multi-tier prioritized rotation system. Now I have a whole video I did on that, and it was extremely popular. I've had a bunch of emails saying how helpful that was. I took it from my book that I wrote about how to maintain languages. So check that video out if you don't know what I'm talking about. But so what I could do is have a bit of a rotation. So I could say, okay, in the evening on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do German, right? That's what I do before bed. But Tuesday, Thursday, I use that time to, you know, consolidate knowledge I've gotten from this book. So like, those are 2 ideas that I came up with, and I think that's a good start. So in summary, I have taken on this commitment to studying German and bringing my skills back, and it's important to me. I have reevaluated, and I believe it's still 100% important. It's not something I'm willing to give up. Okay, cool. Step 2. Okay. Well, I've failed at that for the last couple of weeks at least, right? I don't think it's a failure overall, but I've struggled a lot over the last couple of weeks, and I have barely studied German in that time. Okay, cool. Part 3, how can we fix it, right? It's not about dwelling on the fact that I'm disappointed and everything else. It's, okay, cool, don't worry. It's part of the journey. How do we get back on that boat? And so I took some time to look at my schedule, look at the other habits I have and how those are all sort of interplaying together. And I think I've identified these 2 time slots that will ensure I get daily German practice on my walks, and also a bit more extensive study in the evenings before bed, 3 times per week. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. I think people usually respond really well to these just super authentic, I would say vulnerable videos, which I do a lot of, because yeah, I'm exposing my flaws, my struggles, but again, we all have them. We're all human. So I hope you liked it. Have a wonderful Friday. Go and struggle with something awesome today, right? Like the struggle is just part of that. It's such a big part of it. So embrace the struggle and go off and do it today. And I will see you back here on Monday for another video.